Another job I've got to do on my locomotive is fit a full plate, which is here, made by Roundhouse. Part number is on the screen. Now, this locomotive is Roundhouse Katie, and they don't come with full plates, so I'm going to have to make a bracket to fit this. And I'm going to make it in a way that I can easily remove it for running without a tender. So if I bring the locomotive round, you can see my drawbar, drag beam, and the full plate fits in there. And then obviously the tender on behind, which I have here. The full plate will overlap that bit. But obviously I've got to allow for my tight radius on my track, so I know generally where I want it to be. So I've got a sheet of brass coming, so I can make up a bracket for that. But now I am going to paint it, so I'm going to score it up with some sandpaper and soak it in some paint thinners, clean it off, because there's obviously some machine oil and grime on there, so I'll clean that up and I can paint that with some etching primer. Now I've keyed the part with some wet and dry sandpaper, give it a bit more something for the paint to stick to. I've cleaned it off with paint thinners as well, and then now I'm going to be using Simonized etch primer. Usually I like to use U-Pole number 8 etching primer, but that has gotten so expensive now. So I've been using this, and it's not too bad actually. Got it off Amazon, so I'm going to give this a primer, and then I'll be painting it satin black. So here's the finished foot plate, full plate rather. It's come out nice. Put this, I think it's M2 bolt nut through. I've got one for the other side, and what the plan is, I'm going to cut out this bracket and bend the tabs up and slot it so this will just go underneath the burner and slot down into the slots I'll cut in these tabs. And I've got some 1/2 mil brass, so just cut that out a minute. So here we go, all cut and bent up. See the notches there. So I've got a bit of cleaning up to do before I paint it. To give you a general idea, this will be glued down to the foot plate underneath the burner. And when I want to run a tender, and then slide the full plate under, and then slot it down like that. Keep it on then. So I'll bring you back when it's painted and ready for fitting. Bring in the camera to show you a bit better. Yeah, didn't take that long to make, about 10 minutes. 0.5 mil brass, quite easy to cut with a Dremel. So here's the finished bracket. Bring it closer to the camera. Sorry I didn't show the process of bending and cutting it out, but I was in a bit of a rush, but you can see there, it's come out nicely. Drew a straight line when I was marking it out, and then I got that straight in the vise with this edge here, and started to bend by hand, and then just used a soft hammer to square it up, and then used the Dremel just to slot it out for the bolts, which you can see here, because obviously I want to be able to take the full plate off when I'm running it without a tender. There you go. So all we need to do now is glue that down. Now obviously I need to find out what position to put it in for running on my track. So I've got a couple lengths of tight curve. So I will be placing this bracket in here. Now I've done this before, tried it out before off camera, but it's good to have the light of the photo booth I will be trimming these bolts off so I can get it in and out easier. But if I slot it into the bracket, both sides, which it is now, and I'm going to place it as a convenient Roundhouse logo stamped into the foot plate, and then I can just line it up with that line on there. If I move this box out of the way so it stops pressing in. Now I can bring in the tender. I'm going to put it on where I usually have it, which is the middle hole. So about there. Let's get the full plate up out of the way. Because obviously you don't want the full plate to be rubbing against the tender when you're going around the track. So you get it into the right hole. Get that tender in there. Push the full plate back a bit. Right, so we're in the right hole. Now if I line up the foot plate with my mark, which is there, so I want to be on that line, and that should not hit the tender. Help, there you go. Just push the locomotive along the curve just to make sure it's not going to rub, which it doesn't. So now take the tender off and away, take the full plate, bracket off, out again, which it will be a bit fiddly with the bracket on as well, but once the bracket's glued in place, it should be fine. So take that off. Like I said, I will trim these bolts up before it's finished, make it easier to put through there. Now I'm going to use some of this cheap high temperature black silicone I got off Amazon again, because obviously it's underneath the burner, and also I want to have a bit of time to get it into position before it goes off, so I won't be using super glue. So I'll just smear some of this across. Don't want to go too mad, don't want it squirting out the edges. Just keep it in the middle. So I think that'll do it there. Actually, just put a little bit more, just to make sure. There we go. Obviously it's going to be a bit fiddly putting it in there, so I'm going to turn the locomotive round, take off this back bit of track, so then I can actually see what I'm doing. Get it nice and square. I'm going to pass it through there, and then there. A couple of cocktail sticks. And move it into position. See what I mean about not using instant glue, because obviously you got to move it around, get it into position. That's my line too. Ah, there it is. So there, and okay, I think that's good there. Now we put the full plate in again, so we can then get it nice and square each side. That's pretty square. Same side, same each side. Oh yeah, that's spot on there. So I shall leave that to set for a few minutes, Just double check I haven't got, got a little bit of silicone on the back of the cab there. I just wipe that off now. So I'll leave that to set for a bit, and I'll bring you back. So the brackets had a few hours to for the silicone to set. So just slide this under and onto the slots. There we go. That's it. Got a full plate. So I'm bringing the tender. Move the camera back a bit. I'll move it over. Sorry, a bit of shake. So then I can lift up the full plate, hook the tender on. There we go. Move that round. It's not too bad. So you've got to leave a bit of gap for going around curves, but yeah, I'm pleased with that. So that makes it, that bracket makes it easy to change between running with a tender and without. There we go. So hopefully this video will help someone out who wants to run a tender on their Mamod and without the tender and wants to have a full plate. There you go. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I'll post it again, but the part number for the full plate is on the screen. Yeah, just got to tidy up the ends of the bolts where I trimmed them off. But yeah, very pleased with that. So put it back in there for the end of the video. So thanks for watching. I'll see you again.